Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Falcon Focus podcast. Every Tuesday we're live from 9:30 to 10 from the CAF, live on Facebook Live, archived on cuwfalcons.com. You can download the audio thanks to Podbean and listen on iTunes. My name is Matt Menzl. We recap the week that was in Falcon Athletics and we'll preview the week that will be, as now crisscrossing with the end of the fall seasons and the start of the winter sports, including the men's basketball team. They will have an exhibition game at UW Milwaukee from the Klatschi Center coming up tomorrow, and both men's and women's ice hockey well underway after their first weekends this past, in which the women's ice hockey team off to a 2-0 start. The men's ice hockey team will be in action again coming up this weekend. And of course, we'll be joined by a couple of guests, and we'll talk about those sports. As we'll be joined by Ellie Woodman, a senior defenseman for the women's hockey team, and we'll talk about their past weekend in Minnesota. We also talk with the men's basketball head coach, Shawn Cassidy, back for his 12th season as, again, they get ready for exhibition play. But let's begin by taking a look at the week that was in Falcon Athletics, and we begin in women's soccer, who on Wednesday wrapped up their regular season with a rout of the Alverno College Infernal by the final score of 12-0, scoring 8 of those goals in the opening 45 minutes of play. It was a game that would see Crosby Kowalski come through with 4 goals and a couple of assists. Alexandra Tomic, along with Nicole Shashelchik and Shannon Carroll, all had goals as well. All had 2 goals each, and then Shannon Carroll added a couple of assists in that win that would see 6 players with goals, 6 with points, as the Falcons outshot the Infernal by a whopping 38-2 total, including 23-0 in shots on goal. From there, it was on to Saturday in the first round of the NAC Women's Soccer Tournament, and for a second consecutive week, a home 1-0 victory over Concordia Chicago. This time, the game-winning goal scored in the 67th minute. Alexandra Tomic, team-leading 15th goal on the year. Olivia Kent, the goalkeeper, coming through with 3 saves in the shutout, the 7th of the year now for the Falcon women's soccer team. They now play today at 1 o'clock, NAC Tournament semifinal at Dominican. Right now, the Falcons with 11 victories and 9 defeats overall. They finished 8-3 in conference play, tied for third with MSOE, and entered today's semifinal, having won 3 consecutive. In men's soccer on Wednesday, they wrapped up their regular season with a victory at Rockford, knocking off the Regents 5-0, a big second half, scoring 4 times in the final 45 minutes. Christian Turpak able to score a couple of goals. You had Simon De Silva, Spencer Standarski, and Paulo Lasila, each scoring goals in that victory, as the Falcons then put themselves in a position to host a NAC Tournament first-round match, which they did on Sunday, and they knocked off Wisconsin Lutheran 3-0. 3 first-half goals, the difference. Dago Diaz got the scoring started on a penalty kick. Simon De Silva scored another, and then Zach Jaritza for a 3rd consecutive meeting against Wisconsin Lutheran, able to put one in the back of the net, as the Falcons snapped a 5-match NAC tournament losing streak, and they've advanced now. They will face MSOE, the number 1 seed, in Milwaukee, a semifinal coming up on Wednesday, 7 p.m. atop the parking garage. So right now, the Falcons, 11 victories, 6 defeats, and 1 tie. They finished during the regular season at 7-3-1, good for 5th place, but they have now won 4 consecutive all shutouts. In women's volleyball on Wednesday, they knocked off Wisconsin Lutheran 3-1, 25-14, 25-12, 18-25, and then 25-22. Megan Mayer had 14 kills and 19 digs on a double-double performance. You had Hotley Anderson coming through with 11 kills. Madeline Alton, 10 kills and 15 digs. The win clinched the number 2 seed in the NAC tournament, as the Falcons will go into the tournament as the reigning back-to-back tournament champions. On Sunday, they wrapped up the regular season by taking on a powerhouse. The UW Whitewater lost to the 18th-ranked team in the nation, 3-0, 25-16, 25-12, and 25-21. And Megan Mayer had 6 kills. Madeline Alton added 14 digs. Haley Cito had 12 assists and 10 digs in the loss. The Falcons now enter the tournament with 18 victories and 9 defeats. 10-2 in conference play, finished in 2nd place, will face either Dominican or Wisconsin Lutheran in a NAC tournament semifinal inside the John Book Fieldhouse on Thursday. Set 1 gets underway at 7 p.m. In men's ice hockey, their season opener was on Friday, in which they fell at UW River Falls by a 5-0 score, and then Saturday lost at UW Superior 4-3. They were down 1-0, up 3-1, up 3-2 going into the first intermission. Got goals from Connor Hogue, also Andre Butchko, and then Braden Barker, all scoring in the 1-goal loss against the Yellow Jackets. In ACHA men's ice hockey, the club team on Friday losing to St. Norbert 5-4, but then able to bounce back, knocked off the Green Knights that on Saturday by a 4-2 score. They sit now with 4 victories, 8 defeats. In women's ice hockey, and we'll talk more about the hockey team this season coming up in our next segment, but they were able to open up the season on Friday with a victory against Bethel by the final score of 2-0, in which Kristen Kennedy and freshman Emily Reinke able to score goals. Reinke also added an assist in that victory. And then on Saturday, in Blaine, Minnesota, able to knock off St. Benedict by a 4-2 final, as Maddie Millar had a power play goal, and Natasha Wanless able to score a couple of times. Sam Lombardi also with a power play goal at the time, putting the Falcons up by a 4-1 score. And they now sit 2-0 for the 4th time in program history, and for the first time since the 2014-15 campaign. In field hockey, the end of the regular season with a loss on Saturday at Sewanee 3-1, despite being up 1-0 at halftime. Lone goal scored by Rachel Larson. Field hockey team now prepares for the tournament. For the first time, they'll be in a conference tournament situation that will take place Friday at Hendricks, a team the Falcons knocked off 3-1 back on October the 21st. The field hockey team in their 3rd year now sits with 6 victories and 7 defeats, going 2-3 in conference play. In men's cross country, they finished 3rd in the NAC championships, their best finish since 2011. Wadley Sheik, he finished in 2nd. He was named the NAC Runner of the Year, also the NAC Freshman of the Year. Also receiving all NAC accolades, Craig Reese, he took 3rd. In women's cross country, they finished in 4th place. That at the NAC championships, in which Mackenzie Dorth finished in 14th. She was named the NAC Freshman of the Year. Molly Wirtz, she finished in 6th place. And then Emma Verbecki, also all-conference, after she placed 13th. And then in football, it was their homecoming game this past Saturday, a first-place battle, a shootout. Tough loss against the Eureka College Red Devils. Final score, 48-45. Eureka scored the game-winning touchdown with 19 seconds left in regulation, but a game that would see the Falcons amass 563 offensive yards. Quarterback Aaron Nixon threw for 395 yards and 4 touchdowns. He ran for 100 yards. He scored a touchdown. His top receiver, Isaiah Tennett, he came through with 8 catches, 224 yards, and a couple of scores. The football team will be in bounce-back mode this week at Rockford with 6 victories and a couple of defeats. They sit now at 4-1 in conference play. So that was the week that was in Falcon athletics. When we come back here on the Falcon Focus podcast, we start to look ahead, and we look at women's ice hockey. We'll be joined by Ellie Woodman, one of the seniors on what is otherwise, at least on paper, a relatively young team. But they're off to a 2-0 start, so we talk women's ice hockey next as we continue with the Falcon Focus podcast.
The Student Personnel Administration in Higher Education, or SPAHI program at Concordia University is designed for people who want to work in the university setting in any department. So if you're interested in working in academic advising, campus activities, residence life, admissions, financial aid, this program is really designed for anyone interested in those areas. The mission of Concordia is to help students develop in mind, body, and spirit, and that was really evident in the program. I really enjoyed that I could be in class one night and take what I learned and apply it on the job the very next day. My name is Amber Schiesel, and I am a SPAHI graduate.
Welcome back to the Falcon Focus podcast. We're live inside the CAF as we are every Tuesday for this program from 9:30 to 10 a.m. and being joined by women's ice hockey senior defenseman Ellie Woodman as the hockey team off to a 2-0 start after this past weekend's results in Minnesota. And before we talk about the current team, I'm curious to go back in time and see what sparked your interest and how did you get involved in the sport of hockey?
Well, when I was about 6 or 7, I have 2 older brothers and they both played hockey, and I always wanted to play. But my mom actually made me figure skate for a few years before that, so then that kind of got expensive, and she's like, oh, well, you said you wanted to play hockey, so here, we'll get you some your brother's old stuff, and you can try it out, whatever. So I did, and I've loved it ever since, and never stopped.
So what was your first organized experience for hockey?
I did mites in Janesville, just kind of clubhouse, like in-house type thing, so just playing like cross ice, little kids going around. I don't know, it was just your typical kind of learn to skate type stuff. So.
And then you went on to play high school at the Fury, you played for Team Wisconsin U19. How did those experiences help prepare you for the collegiate game?
was definitely interesting going through high school because, Fury was that in-season, actual winter sport where Team Wisconsin was before and after, more like club. And so for the Fury, it was more like working on my mental game and, having fun with girls that I played hockey with my whole life. And then Team Wisconsin was more of my opportunity to be showcased and be seen by college coaches and get my name out there. So.
But was playing college hockey, was that always the mindset?
Oh yeah, definitely. I always had dreams of, going Division I and doing things like that, but as you get older, you kind of realize what's more realistic and things like that. And, Concordia was one of the schools that I originally looked at. It was in my top 3 choices. I did go to a different school my actual freshman year, but that didn't work out, and wasn't sure I was going to continue to try to play hockey. Reached out to Steve, and he was like, yeah, we've got space for you, so come on out. I wasn't really expecting anything, but, freshman year I ended up becoming a starter, and, I've worked hard all throughout these years, so I've loved playing for this team and really enjoyed it.
I read, prior to your collegiate days, among your accolades, you were a 3-time Team Defensive Player of the Year. Has defense always been your first focus?
Yeah, I've pretty much always been a defenseman for as long as I can remember. I kind of just got thrown into it. I played boys hockey until I was like 12 or 13. And so all the boys always wanted to be forwards and the goal scorers, so somebody had to stay back on the blue line. So that was me. That was what I did.
Well, in your first year here at Concordia back in 2015-16, NCHA All-Freshman Team honoree, you skated in all 25 games. What was the most challenging part maybe in adjusting to the collegiate game?
I think the speed for sure. It's definitely a different game. They're older girls, they're stronger girls. It's more like professional at this level, so we have there's a lot more commitment to it outside of just skating and practices and stuff. You're working out like before and after practices, you're doing stuff in the off season, and when you're coming from like a high school team, like it's serious, but it's not to this level, so that was a big challenge. And then, when I was a freshman, we had a lot of seniors and upperclassmen that really were strong roles on the team, so being one of the players to come in and actually get playing time was, I really had to push myself and, compete with everybody else on the team to have a spot. So.
And besides defense, you contributed to the attack, coming through with 9 points, a couple of goals, 7 assists. Do you remember that first goal, which tied the game against Marion with 40 seconds left in regulation?
Never forget it. I actually have it posted on my Instagram, and I go back to it every now and then to kind of relive it. It was a pretty emotional game, and we were all really excited, and it's always huge. There's a rivalry between us and Marion, so close, and I know a ton of girls on their team, played with them all throughout the years growing up in Wisconsin. So to get that goal and then to get the win after that was just incredible, and it was awesome, so I'll never forget that.
Yeah, you will send it to overtime, as you mentioned, get the win 4-3 in OT over Marion. So on to year number 2, skated in all 25 games, one of the top defenders on a team that allowed the fewest goals in Falcon women's hockey history. What does that mean to you to have been a part of a defense? Obviously, you strive to surpass that now this year, but what's it mean to know that you were part of a defense that is right now number 1 in team history?
It's awesome. We all work really hard. We put it in, every practice. We're all pushing ourselves and pushing each other to do our best, and we have awesome goalies. It's kind of understated. They're incredible, and they work really hard too, and they stand on top of their heads sometimes. So it's not just us, but it's really cool to be a part of that and be able to say, confidently, we have a strong blue line, a strong defense. So.
And then last year, you skated in all 26 games. You had 3 goals, 8 assists. Now, you were named to the D3Hockey.com Team of the Week back on February 21st. Was that kind of an unexpected yet special honor?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's always nice to get some recognition. It's tough as a defenseman because everything kind of relies on stats. So unless you're scoring and getting assists and stuff, your name doesn't really pop up on stuff like that. So, my main focus is really plus minus. That's my big stat that I like to have. Always like to be on the plus side. But it's always really cool to get recognition like that and to see that my work is paying off.
Now, you didn't assist in the NCHA playoff series against St. Scholastic. Okay, the team lost that series, but did you look at that as a valuable experience and maybe making the team a little hungrier for those that are back from last year's team to get back there and maybe get beyond that level?
Definitely. I mean, it was really cool to get to make it to playoffs last year. And St. Scholastica, we've always battled really hard with them. They're an aggressive, fast team. We always play really well against them. Sometimes it's just hard to find the back of the net. But, you know, everybody that came back is really excited about this year. We were ranked 4th in the preseason poll. I think we're all trying to, you know, get higher up in that ranking throughout the year. We're looking forward to the games this weekend against Lake Forest, who I think was ranked 2nd. You know, we took them last year. We took a game from them, so we'd like to do that again, take the series from them, and, you know, prove to everybody that we're here and we want to get as far as we can this year. So,
looking at the roster, there are 9 freshmen, 8 sophomores, 5 juniors, and you're one of the 4 seniors. Is it a young team? I guess in your mind, there's certainly players that have experience, but is it a young team? Is it a kind of a mix? How would you describe your squad?
It's definitely a young team. We've got a lot of new personalities on the team. It's a completely different dynamic this year. You know, we lost some, 3 really great seniors last year, but you know, everybody's kind of stepping up to take their part and take their new roles, and we're still trying to figure it out a little bit. And there's lots of opportunities for experience and stuff like that for all the freshmen and underclassmen to, you know, get in the games and things like that. We have a full roster this year, which is kind of different from the past couple of years. It means that we have healthy scratches, so it's kind of made practices more competitive because people are playing for spots and things like that. So it's definitely interesting this year, to kind of say the least.
How do you feel? Obviously, the 2 wins, but I guess just watching the team play, watching yourself play, how do you feel this first weekend went?
It was good. I mean, it's off to a good start. We're definitely not at all where we're going to end up. You know, we've got a lot of things we need to work on. Our defensive zone was a little rough, but it's just things that we know we got to work on, like communication, you know, getting pucks to sticks rather than, you know, deflections and things like that, getting pucks to the net. But we've got a lot of good talent, and everyone's kind of getting those nerves out from the first weekend, and just trying to really get used to the play and everything like that. So, you know, I definitely see a good future for us, and I think we're going to do really well this year. We just got to pull it together a little bit.
And a challenging slate to start. First 6 away from home. Home opener finally on November the 16th against St. Norbert at 7 p.m. Just finally, you know, you also play lacrosse. I do want to mention that. And when you look back at those 3 years, are you able to use some of your hockey skills? Is it a completely different mindset, or are you able to use kind of what you do in hockey and kind of carry that over into the lacrosse season?
I mean, I'm definitely like a competitive person. I love playing sports. In high school, I was a 3-sport athlete. There's some stuff that carries over, just like that competitiveness. Like, I want to win. I want to do really well. I play defense in lacrosse as well. It's kind of the same in some ways. Like, you kind of play it the same way, just pushing them out, you know, getting them away from the net, stuff like that. Obviously, there's huge differences, but it's a fun sport, and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I picked it up. So I'm really happy to be able to do both.
To wrap it up in the here and now, goals you have for yourself for this hockey season?
Oh, man, a lot. Definitely to do better than the past seasons. It's always a big one, you know, as far as stats and things like that. One that I really have is to try for all conference. Again, that's kind of a stat thing. You know, I got to really push myself to score some goals and get a lot of assists and things like that, but it doesn't necessarily change my play or the way that I play or anything like that. Just trying to play smarter and be a better teammate and things like that. So,
Ellie, thanks a lot for your time. Best of luck going forward. Again, the hockey team off to a 2-0 start, and you can see them live in person on the 16th of November against St. Norbert. Now, when we come back, we switch gears to men's basketball. We'll talk with their head coach, Shawn Cassidy, as we continue here on the Falcon Focus podcast. Welcome back to the Falcon Focus podcast. Switching gears now to men's basketball. They get ready to play Milwaukee tomorrow night in an exhibition game for the second time in the last now 3 seasons. And being joined by Shawn Cassidy, who's back for his 12th season at the helm. He's the second winningest coach in program history. And let's start there. That's going to be kind of special when you start to see your name on that list. This is your alma mater, to be back here and not only, to be back in Concordia, but having the kind of success that this team has had in your now previous 11 seasons.
Well, the reason I came back is because of my love for this place. And for all those things that Coach Rasmussen and Kerry Slamakowicz did for me as a player, that's what I want to instill in these players and hopefully help them through it. So I'm not too concerned about the wins and the losses and the records. It's more about the experience for the young men.
I'm glad you brought up Wayne Rasmussen because when you first came back here, you were an assistant for Coach Rasmussen for a couple of seasons. Of course, Coach Rasmussen sadly passed away this past summer. But what did he mean to you, and how did he maybe shape your coaching career?
Oh, he did everything for me. He recruited me here, then recruited me back to help him coach, and gave me 2 years of being an assistant coach where we met every single day. And through those years of being out in California, we stayed in touch and talked frequently about program and ideas and about belief. And that's a strong man of God that we're saddened by his loss.
You look back at your 11 seasons now at the helm. What is maybe a couple of things that jump out to you when you look at the program and the direction it's headed and has been? What are you most proud of?
We had Alumni Day on Saturday, and just seeing those guys, spending some time with them, recounting memories of different games, of different trips. Sometimes the games and the wins and losses kind of fall off the records, and you remember the trips to Florida or to California and the experiences that we have on the road and the experiences of going through those with those guys and being at weddings, quite a few of them in the last couple of years, and getting a chance to hang out and talk with them individually and through the situations that they're going through. That's the most important thing. I just enjoy the guys we recruit here. We recruit a very special young man to be a part of this basketball program, and they become pretty much friends for life.
And the one thing you can guarantee, regardless of wins and losses, this team will compete. And you look last year, 15 victories, 12 defeats, going 12-8 in conference play, tied for fourth with Lakeland, ended up losing in the semifinals of the NAC tournament against Benedictine. But how would you characterize or summarize last season?
Last season was up and down. We had a season of runs. We started off very poorly against some tough competition. We turned some things around and started winning some more games and coming together, and then we went through a kind of a bad streak again with some injuries that changed our rotations. And then by the time we were healthy, I thought we were playing pretty well by the end of the season and came up with some big wins down the stretch, much needed wins to get into the conference tournament and boost ourselves into a tie for fourth. Had a great last 2 games. We came up a shot short in the conference semifinals, and I thought we were playing our best basketball at the end of the season.
I take it now as you start to look toward this season, there's a lot of excitement surrounding the squad that brings back 11 to 18 who played last year. But not only that, but you bring back 4 of your top 4 scorers and 5 of your top 6 are all back in uniform.
That's exciting. It's allowed us to move very quickly. Having UWM tomorrow night forces us to play at a faster pace than what we're used to. Typically, you have about a month before your first game, but we had a scrimmage already on Friday, and we had to move very quickly. Unfortunately, for some of the freshmen, that might be going too quick, but we need to be ready for tomorrow night, so we're moving at a very frantic pace, knowing that we've got a very big game tomorrow night in an exhibition and a great opportunity for us.
Now, one of the top players back is Josh Howe, reigning first-team all-conference selection, led the team last year at about 18.5 points a game. What expectations do you have for a player like Josh now in his final go-around?
Well, become the leader that we know he can become. He's an outstanding player. He wants so badly to win. We've got a very competitive group, so it's kind of hard to say he's the most competitive, but he works out so hard, and every day he was in the gym, and you just know that he's going to be in there giving everything he's got. He wants so badly to have this be a great year for the entire team.
And your number 2 scorer last year was Jordan Johnson, the conference freshman of the year. Obviously, we know he's good. But did you expect him to have that kind of an impact so quickly?
I didn't. I probably under-recruited him because of that. I knew he could score. I had no idea until he walked in the gym just how good he was. And then going back and watching his film from last year, he got better and better every day. And he's a completely different player now than he was last year. So we were very excited about the season for him.
inside. Andrew Fratsky adds that size. What kind of a year are you hoping for from the 6'7" senior?
We need him to solidify the interior, and he's been able to move to the outside and really work on his ball handling and his shooting. I'm excited. He's one of the nicest young men you're ever going to find, and he works so hard. We need him to be a force. We were so much different with him off the floor than on the floor statistically last year, and we needed him to probably log some pretty good minutes this year.
Those are some of the key returns. There are plenty of returnees. As mentioned, a lot of experience on this season's roster, but there's also 10 freshmen, a couple other newcomers. So do you have newcomers that you're looking at right now here in practice? You say, hey, we could have a couple of guys that could have an immediate impact.
Well, the one we forgot about is Jake Jerse.
Yeah, well, there's 2 jerseys now.
Right, we have 2 jerseys. So we start talking about Jared, you got to mention Jake and the leadership that he brings as a team captain. And again, we went through kind of a lull with him off the floor with his injury last year that we struggled with. But now we have his younger brother Jared, and Jared is an outstanding point guard. He's going to be really good for us. It's a huge learning curve with the speed of the game and the physicality and the style we play. But he sees things that guys don't normally see, and it sets himself apart as an outstanding point guard, and he makes everybody else better on the floor.
Exhibition game, as mentioned, coming up tomorrow against Milwaukee. It's on campus at the Clonchy Center at 7 p.m. down there at UWM. Second time in 3 years you've played the Panthers in an exhibition setting. What are you hoping to gain out of this contest?
Well, we want to put ourselves in difficult situations. That's how we really find out who we are and what we're good at, what we're not good at. Again, anytime you get a chance to play an exhibition game against a Division I opponent, it's nothing but a positive. Mm-hmm. It's a chance for our guys to match up with some of the top athletes and see how we do. I also enjoy the media timeouts. It's a little bit different than our normal conference play, because we get to take it 4-minute games at a time and then get a chance to regroup at the timeouts. It's all about learning. It's about learning who we are. We don't officially start our season for 2 more weeks with games. So we're going to learn a lot tomorrow and then go back and regroup and figure out what are we good at, what do we need to work on. It also raises our sensitivity to the little finer points that we really need to work on in practice.
You bring up the season opener. That's November the 16th at UW-Platteville. Home opener, conference play, Wisconsin Lutheran December 1st. Finally, look at the conference. Hopefully the Falcons will be right there in the conversation. I expect they would be. The poll hasn't come out yet. Aurora is the reigning regular season tournament champions. They come into the year receiving votes in the D3Hoops.com preseason poll. Who are some of the teams that you kind of look at and go, at least, without having seen them, live, you say, hey, this is going to be a team that's going to be tough to contend with?
You take a look at the number of returners in our conference. Who isn't going to be a team to contend with? This is going to be one of the toughest competitions. Last year, I thought we were so even across the board. I think there's probably Aurora setting themselves apart with the run that they had last year and the dominance really in the conference and then the national tournament advancing. Then you take a look at the rest of us, Illinois Tech being added to the conference, and we know they're very good. Mm-hmm. And then there's probably 6 of us that are all going to be competing and beating up on each other, and then there is no bad team in our conference. So there's no nights off. It's a 20-game grind of a schedule that having to play in difficult gyms on Tuesday nights, Saturday morning, whatever it is, this is a very tough schedule we have ourselves. But I'm excited about that. That's what you want. You want to be in a great situation where you've got a number of returning guys that are not afraid to go into big games and not afraid to go on the road. But this is going to be a very tough conference season.
Can't wait to see how things unfold. Coach, thanks a lot for your time. We'll see you tomorrow in Milwaukee.
All right, thank you, man.
That's the head coach of the men's basketball squad, Shawn Cassidy. When we come back here on the Falcon Focus podcast, we'll take a look at what else is going on this week in Falcon athletics.
God never intended for us to live a comfortable life. He created us to go outside our comfort zones, to use our gifts and talents in the service of others, to live a you-first life in a me-first world. At Concordia University, it's our mission to prepare you for that path, so that you stand apart from the crowd and live a life that's actually uncommon. Concordia University. Live uncommon.
Welcome back to the Falcon Focus podcast, our final segment. Again, we thank both of our guests, Ellie Woodman, a senior defenseman for the women's ice hockey team, and then the 12th year head coach of the Falcon men's basketball squad, Shawn Cassidy, as they get ready for exhibition play tomorrow night. And again, you can join us every Tuesday. We're live here from the CAF on the Concordia campus from 9:30 to 10. You can watch us, as you probably are right now, live on Facebook Live or archived on CWFalcons.com. You can download the audio thanks to Podbean and listen through iTunes. Well, let's take a look at the week ahead in Falcon athletics. Today, women's soccer, the NAC tournament semifinal at 1 o'clock down at River Forest, Illinois. The soccer team taking on number 1 Dominican. Back in October the 6th, the Falcons lost to the Stars by a 3-0 score. On Wednesday at 7 o'clock in Milwaukee, it's a men's soccer NAC tournament semifinal against top-seeded MSOE. MSOE's only loss during the regular season and conference play coming here against the Falcons on October the 17th by a 1-0 score. Falcons also looking to avenge what happened last year. The Falcons were the number 1 seed last year. MSOE came to Mequon and upset Concordia in a semifinal. At 7 p.m. tomorrow night in men's basketball exhibition play, they will take on the Milwaukee Panthers from the Cloutry Center on the UWM campus. If you cannot be in Milwaukee in person, we'll have an audio-only broadcast for you on the Falcon Athletic Network. Do note that, again, the two teams played each other a couple of years ago in an exhibition game back on November 5th of 2016. The Panthers won that game 77-62, yet the Falcons were only down by 5 at halftime. On Thursday at 7 p.m. in women's volleyball, it's a NAC tournament semifinal against either Dominican or at Wisconsin Lutheran. A couple of teams the Falcons beat in the regular season, both in 4 sets. That matchup gets underway at 7 p.m. The Falcons, the defending back-to-back NAC tournament champions. A broadcast will be available as well via the Falcon Athletic Network. On Friday in field hockey at 1 o'clock at Hendricks, part of conference tournament play. Beat Hendricks 3-1 back on October the 21st. If the field hockey team wins that matchup, they will play Saturday. If you win Saturday, you advance to the tournament championship on Sunday. In men's ice hockey, they play at 7 o'clock against St. Norbert. Again, live video on the Falcon Athletic Network. ACHA men's ice hockey will be taking on Illinois State at 8:30 p.m. And then on Saturday, wrestling gets their season started. The wrestling team will be in action at the UW Stevens Point Open at 9 a.m. You have men's and women's soccer potentially playing in tournament championship games based on today and tomorrow's happenings. Women's volleyball could be in a NAC tournament championship as well. Football is at Rockford at 1 p.m. ACHA men's ice hockey wraps up their weekend series against Illinois State at 12:45 p.m. In men's ice hockey, they take on the Finlandia Lions. The puck drops at 4 p.m. from the Ozaki Ice Center. That can be seen as well on the Falcon Athletic Network. Women's ice hockey will be taking on Lake Forest at 7:30 p.m. And then Sunday, in women's ice hockey, they will be at Lake Forest at 5 p.m. And the women's triathlon will be at the USA Triathlon Collegiate National Championship. That and more coming up on Sunday. Also, while we have a quick moment, want to pass along our condolences to the Arnie Garber family upon Arnie's passing this past weekend. He was instrumental in helping create the Falcon football program back in 1980, and over 4 decades of coaching experience. He touched many lives. Our thoughts and prayers with the Garber family during this difficult time. Don't forget to check out CWFalcons.com, a complete recap of this week's happenings and more. And again, we'll be back with you next Tuesday to recap it all and preview the upcoming week in Falcon Athletics right here on the Falcon Focus Podcast.